Ask me questions.
Okay, so here we are for another chat about feminine energy. And I'd like to introduce my old friend, really wonderful person, Sydney Leijenhorst. So, Sydney, tell us about how you experience the feminine in your very busy life.
Especially the busy life, right? Yeah, it's interesting because in a way, if I look back at my life, it's always been actually a play between masculine and feminine energies. But I come from, in a way, you can say I come from a martial arts culture. And I think if many people, hear the word martial art or they hear the word karate, they will probably first think of a masculine culture with masculine qualities, which in a way is correct because originally it was mainly practiced by men. Of course, that has completely changed. I mean, if I look at my dojo, I probably have at least 30 to 40% feminine karateka also. So that's been changing. But actually, I think the understanding the feminine qualities within the martial arts and within the karate has really helped me to become much more competent in it, but also having much more satisfaction from the
Mm,
practice.
mm,
Like, first thing that comes to mind, like I remember when I did my first Qigong weekend, which has also been an important influence on my karate. It was very much about spontaneous movement. So
mm,
it was very much about taking a certain posture, opening up to whatever wants to move or whatever wants to arise, and just go with that flow and just surrender to the spontaneous process. And this was a very different quality, right? Or you could say operating system than
mm,
what you first learn in martial arts. Right? Because when you first train martial arts, you will learn, specific forms in a very detailed fashion, and you repeat, yeah, and you try to improve, and you challenge your capacity. Yeah? Those It's a very different way of developing. But it was really interesting to see how these two aspects could actually connect to each other. And that is really part of the enjoyment today that I can navigate both fields and I can
mm,
integrate. And this is both for the practice itself. Like, for example, if you think about fighting, yeah. On the one thing you can think about fighting, okay, I have to make sure that, or I should do this. But on the other hand, if you really want to have a good fight, you actually need to open up and you need to become more intimate with your opponent. Because then you can read your opponent much better, which is more like a feminine quality. To dominate the opponent, I would say it's more masculine quality, but able to open up for your opponent so you can feel into him or her and read him or her, that I would say is more feminine quality. And if you can integrate those, then it is not only much more of a joy to fight, because it feels much more natural, it feels much more complete, but it even makes you a better fighter. Yeah. And I feel the same in teaching. It doesn't matter whether I teach karate or teach qigong or I teach meditation. Of course, I know stuff. I know some theory. I know drills. I know all kind of forms of meditation. I know techniques, and I could construct, a class. Yeah? But what I usually do is the opposite. I have no clue what I'm going to do. And then I just open up to what wants to arise. And interestingly enough, it can be very structured and can be absolutely logically consistent what I do. But this masculine manifestation of structure, build up, logic consistency, etc., actually arises from the feminine.
mhm.
So it actually just arises from openness and trust and connectedness with what is already there for me.
Mhm.
But that's like the first thing that comes to mind.
That's beautiful, beautiful. I really liked how you described doing the fight in a karate way, but also how you're teaching, how
Yeah,
the yeah, and, you know, what I have also discovered is that, you know, the blue energy, the Vajra download is really you don't reach people as
no,
well.
no.
You have to reach people first, and then you throw in a few little tidbits of information.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because you know, if I think about my meditation classes, like in like long, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I would just do whatever arised. You know, I would kind of intuitively create a session, and that was it. And then I just, you know, we parted, and next time something else came out, and we parted. But at some point, I did actually start to think, well, maybe people need a little bit structure, or you know, need a little bit of view. So
Mhm,
when that came through for me, I'm still spontaneously creating my class, but then afterward, I can look back, and then I understand why I did what I did, and
mhm,
then I frame it. Yeah, so
mhm.
I might say, you know, this relates to Sutrayana, this relates to Vajrayana, or this relates to this wisdom, that relates to that wisdom. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that, but I'm doing it after the meal.
You
So
you figured out what the menu is after you've eaten.
exactly, exactly.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. These are little tidbits that I want to offer with
Uh-huh.
from people who are very into, I mean, the five wisdoms. We didn't mention them too much here, but I should just say Sydney is a teacher of the five vital wisdoms, as he likes to call them, and so there's a lot of simpatico in how we, Sydney and I, relate, which has always been wonderful.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Okay, so goodbye for now, and
Okay,
thank you so much.
bye bye. See you next
Bye-bye.
time. Bye bye.
Okay.